May 15th, 1944. Campalona, Iowa. Feldable Hans Richter steps off the train into air so thick with humidity he can barely breathe. He's been traveling for 6 weeks from the sandblasted ruins of Tunisia to Norfolk Naval Base, Norfolk to here, the middle of nowhere, America. The camp sprawls across prairie land that stretches beyond sight. No mountains, no forests, just endless corn. An American officer with a Midwest drawl reads names from a clipboard. His voice carries across the processing yard where 300 Africa Corps veterans stand in the blazing sun. You'll be working for local farmers, agricultural labor. You'll be paid 80 cents a day. He pauses, scanning his list. Artur, you're going to the Zimmerman farm. Artur freezes. His throat constricts. Zimmerman. The officer continues, oblivious. Schultz, you're with the Hoffmans. Bieber, the Schmidts need help with corn harvest. Brown, you're headed to the Becker place. The Germans exchange glances. These aren't American names. These are their names. The names from their villages, from their graveyards, from their military rosters. Unterhitisier Paul Schultz whispers to Richter. Did he just say, I'm working for someone named Hoffman? My mother was a Hoffman. They'd done the arithmetic on the Atlantic crossing. 6 weeks in the bowels of Liberty ships, calculating numbers to pass the time. 6 million Germans had immigrated to America between 1820 and 1920. 6 million. That's twice the population of Berlin. The entire kingdom of Saxony, lifted and transplanted across an ocean. The Nazi propaganda machine had told them these immigrants were suffering, enslaved by Jewish bankers, starving in urban ghettos, begging to return to the Reich. Goebbels himself had broadcasted, "Our racial brothers in America cry out for liberation." But now the train that takes them from camp to the farms shows something else. Every mailbox they pass bears witness to a different truth. Schneider, Becker, Wagner, Kaufmann, Kleiner, Gross. Each name a small betrayal of everything they'd been told. May 16th, 1944, Hancock County, Iowa. 6:00 in the morning. Hans Richter stands at the edge of the Zimmerman property. He can't see where it ends. The corn rows vanish into morning mist. A red barn larger than any building in his village rises from the landscape like a cathedral. Otto Zimmerman walks out of a house with electric lights blazing in every window, even at dawn, even in peacetime. Such casual waste of power. Zimmerman is tall, broad-shouldered, wearing denim overalls that would cost a month's wages in Germany. 6th-generation American. Though Richter doesn't know this yet, his great-great-grandfather left Bavaria in 1843, the same year Arthur's family almost starved in the same region. Zimmerman speaks English with a Midwest drawl. You must be Arthur. Heard you boys. We're coming. Then, almost as an afterthought, he adds, Deutsch. Do you understand German? The words are accented, Americanized, syllables softened by generations of English, but they're German, unmistakably German. RTO nods, unable to speak. Zimmerman switches to German, rusty but functional. My grandmother insisted we learn, said we should know where we came from even if we're never going back. The tour that follows breaks RTO's understanding of the world. Otto Zimmerman owns 640 acres. In Germany, anyone with 100 acres is aristocracy. The Junkers who run Prussia average 500 acres. Zimmerman, descendant of Bavarian peasants, exceeds them all. He owns 2 John Deere tractors. Richter has seen exactly 3 tractors in his entire life. All of them belong to the Wehrmacht. He owns a combine harvester that costs $2,400. That's more than most German families see in a lifetime. He owns a 1942 Ford truck despite the war, despite rationing. A civilian with a private truck. He has electricity throughout his house. Not just one bulb per room, but multiple fixtures. Electric outlets everywhere. An electric refrigerator humming in the kitchen. An electric range for cooking. A Zenith radio in polished walnut. A telephone mounted on the wall. Indoor plumbing with hot water. Turn a handle and hot water flows. No heating required. No hauling from wells. The breakfast Mrs. Zimmerman serves could feed Richtor's family for 3 days. Eggs, 6 of them just for him. Bacon, strips piled like timber. Toast from store-bought white bread slathered with butter. Real butter, not margarine, not turnip spread. Butter. Orange juice in a tall glass. Coffee with cream and sugar. Both cream and sugar as if rationing never existed. My boys are fighting in Italy, Zimmerman says, pouring more coffee from an endless pot. 3 sons, maybe against your friends. Strange world. He says it without hatred, without anger, just fact. His sons are killing Germans while he feeds Germans. Your family, Richter finally manages. Bad harvest, no future there. My great-great-great-grandfather walked from Munich to Hamburg, sold everything for ship passage, arrived with $17, and now Zimmerman looks out his window at the endless fields. Now I gross about 12,000 a year. Good a year, maybe 15. Richter can't process the number. A German factory worker makes 2,000 Reichsmarks annually, maybe if he's lucky, if there's work, if the factory hasn't been bombed. The pantry tour comes next. Mrs. Zimmerman, born Catherine Müller, opens door after door. Shelves stacked to the ceiling. Home canning. Hundreds of jars. Tomatoes, green beans, corn, peaches, pears, apple butter, strawberry jam, store-bought goods, coffee, sugar, flour in 50 sacks, cases of Coca-Cola. We could eat for a year without leaving the farm, she says simply. In Hamburg, Richter's mother queues 4 hours for a loaf of black bread. The numbers across America are staggering. By 1940, Wisconsin is 40% German-American. Milwaukee, nearly 70%. The city has German newspapers, German theaters, German beer gardens, until the First War made it unpatriotic. Now they're just American newspapers, American theaters, American bars. But the names remain. Schlitz, Pab, Blatz, Miller, anglicized from Miller. Minnesota has 162 towns with German names. New Ulm, New Munich, Hamburg, Berlin Cologne. Germans who fled the old country and then rebuilt it piece by piece, name by name in the prairie. In Texas, there's a dialect called Texas German, spoken by 100,000 people. Germans who arrived in the 1840s and created their own world in the hill country at Camp Hearn, Texas. P.L. Klaus Fischer is assigned to work in a town called New Braunfels. Braunfels like the castle on the Lahn River, but new. Everything in America is new. New York, New Jersey, New Hampshire, New Braunfels. The founder, Prince Karl of S. Braunfels, who brought 7,000 Germans to Texas in 1845, not fleeing poverty, he was. Aristocracy, fleeing the future he saw coming. The wars, the nationalism, the blood that would soak European soil for the next century. These Germans turned Texans now own cattle ranches spanning thousands of acres, cotton gins processing millions of pounds, oil derricks pumping black gold, general stores serving communities, banks holding mortgages. They were supposed to be dying, Fischer writes to his mother, though he knows the letter will be censored. They were supposed to need us, but they're richer than anyone I knew in Germany. They drive Cadillacs. They have swimming pools. Swimming pools. Mother for recreation. June 1944. Reading, Pennsylvania. 300 prisoners of war arrive at Reading Army Airfield. Reading is 90% Pennsylvania Dutch, not Dutch at all. Deutsch German, corrupted by American tongues into Dutch. The PS are processed by Sergeant Kleinmidt, whose grandfather left Westphalia in 1882. Corporal Dietrich, whose family fled the Kulur camp. Private Ulrich, third-generation American who speaks no German but whose name echoes through Prussian. History. All American soldiers, all with German surnames, all fighting against Germany. P. Wilhelm Braun can't comprehend it. These are Volksgenossen, racial comrades in Nazi ideology. They should be allies. The blood should call to blood. Instead, Sergeant Kleinmidt's son is flying B-17s over Berlin. Corporal Dietrich's brother commands a tank destroyer in France. Private Alrech's cousin died at Agneau, fighting Germans. The Pennsylvania countryside is a mirror world. The hex signs on barns, Germanic folk art. The foods scrapple, sauerkraut, pretzel. The names Yoda, Grath, Weaver, anglicized from Weber, Sunder from Schneider. At the Yoda farm where Braun works, dinner conversation flows between English and Pennsylvania German. The dialect is 300 years old, frozen in time, carrying words that no longer exist in modern German. Mr. Yoda's grandfather arrived in 1820, owned nothing. Now the family has 400 acres, 60 head of cattle, modern milking, equipment, 2 cars, and a son at Harvard. Harvard. The Yodas, who would have been serfs in Germany, have a son at Harvard. Why didn't your grandfather stay? Braun asks. Stay for what? Yoda responds. To be drafted into someone's army? To die for some prince? Here we choose our own wars. The irony cuts deep. America is fighting a war it chose. Germany is fighting a war one man chose. Sunday, July the 9th, 1944. St. John's Lutheran Church, Missouri. 25 prisoners of war are permitted to attend church. The congregation is 100% German-American. The service alternates between English and German. The hymeneal is bilingual. The stained glass windows were made in Munich in 1887. They sing Borg is unser mighty fortress is our God. Martin Luther's hymn in German in America. While American bombs fall on German cities, Pigar Mesa sits between Fra Steinberg, whose grandfather left Prussia in 1852, and Herk, whose son is in the Pacific fighting Japanese who are allied with Germans. The congregation sings with fervor. These are not people who abandoned their heritage. They brought it with them, preserved it, transformed it. The sermon is about forgiveness. The pastor, Reverend Dietrich, lost a nephew in Italy to German artillery. He preaches forgiveness while his nephew's gold star hangs in the church window. After church, the congregation serves lunch in the basement. Real coffee percolates in 3 large urns. Tables, groan under the weight of food. White bread and pumpernickel, butter and jam, ham and roast beef, potato salad, German style, Cole's slaw, 3 kinds of pie. Fra Steinberg tells Mir about her family. My grandfather left because there was no future in Germany, only wars and hunger. Here we found peace. My father never held a gun. My husband never held a gun. My sons, she pauses. My sons hold guns now, but they chose to for America, not for a king or Kaiser or Führer. Mesa writes, that night, everything we were told was backwards. The Germans who left found paradise. We who stayed found hell. They kept what was good about being German, the work ethic, the craftsmanship, the music, the food. They discarded what was poison, the militarism, the obedience, the hatred. August 1944, harvest season across the American Midwest. 30,000 German POWs work on German-American farms. The irony is overwhelming. Schmitz guarding Schmitz, Millers feeding Millers, Wagners supervising Wagners. The same names on both sides of the barbed wire, except one side chose democracy and the other chose dictatorship. Hans Bauer works for Emil Bauer. No relation in Nebraska. Emil owns 1,000 acres of corn. His great-grandfather left Bavaria with nothing but strong hands and a willingness to work. The machinery is revelation. John Deere tractors that do the work of 50 men.